4168 Tori and number 12004 Chris and number 1300 Stuart, as well as numerous cousins, have shared stories of their times at Camp Dudley with her. Her son, number 20725 Reagan, continued the long foster tradition at Dudley, returning for his last summer in 2018 as division head. As the only girl in her family, Caroline always wished for the chance to attend a girls' camp like Dudley. She was thrilled when Kiniya became part of the Dudley community and quickly signed up her daughter, our beloved leader of Lakeside Cabin, number 21412, Gretchen, as a 9-year-old in 2009. Caroline has continued to be a loyal supporter of both camps ever since, and was elected to join the Dudley Board of Trustees in 2017, and now serves as the treasurer of the board. Through this board service, Caroline has been able to enjoy a Dudley Kiniya camp experience of her own. Inspired by Reagan's experience on the Dudley Knowles trip, Caroline completed her own Knowles course in 2016. Said Caroline, "Dudley and Kiniya not only motivated our family to continue living the motto beyond the shores of Champlain, but they embody an ever-present energy and inspiration in our everyday lives." So please join me this morning in a warm Kiniya welcome for camper number 24514, Caroline Dean.
Good morning. I am honored and just really excited to be here. Closer. I've never been told I'm not loud enough. There's a particular glee in what I'm doing right at this moment, and it will make sense to you all in a few minutes, though I think Molly gave a hint to that. How many of you tried something new this summer? That's terrific. Maybe you sang on stage for the first time, maybe last night, climbed the rock wall, or went water skiing. When you were packing your trunk for camp, did you think, I wonder if it's possible for me to do this new thing? Did you consider any other new things, or were you only focused on that one new thing? As you heard from Molly, I grew up in a family with 4 kids. I'm the girl. I come from a long line of Dudley campers, and as is the family tradition, all 3 of my brothers attended Camp Dudley. Every winter, we hosted the open house in our hometown, Shaker Heights, Ohio. I was extremely envious of my brothers and their opportunity to go to camp. As I'm sure many of you have experienced from your family members across the lake, I had heard stories of games, council rings, epic hikes, tasty donuts, and silly traditions. I knew the Dudley cheer with all of the words. I knew everyone's camper number. The year I turned 11, as we prepared for the open house, I remember asking Dad, when will they allow girls to go to camp? "It's not a possibility," he replied calmly and turned away. My brothers in succession attended or worked at camp for 15 straight summers while I patiently waited for my turn. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my father, my uncle, my 3 brothers, 11 first cousins, and more have all come to Camp Dudley, and yet for me it was not a possibility. I'm sure that seems unlikely, but remember, Camp Dudley didn't have a girls' camp back then. I did try other summer camps, one in Wisconsin and one in Maine, but they weren't a right fit. I found reasons, more like excuses, not to like something about that camp. I found myself comparing aspects of those camps to what I perceived made Dudley so special. While desperately wanting to have my own Dudley experience that I could share with my brothers, I had unwittingly limited the possibility of thriving in my own unique experience at another camp. My own bias about what I thought camp should be blinded me to what camp could be. Fast forward 10 years. I'm in college, thinking about how to spend my summer. You know what never crossed my mind? The possibility of working as staff at Dudley. Was this a possibility? Of course it was. Here was an opportunity that many sisters of Dudley boys took advantage of, to have their own version of the Dudley experience. Why didn't I consider it? Because back when I was 11, when I was told that camp was not a possibility, I took that to heart. It slammed the door shut such that I didn't consider alternatives. I honestly just didn't even think about it. Now, why am I especially excited to be here today? If you had asked me when I was 11, when I was 20, heck, even last year, if I would be the first person in that big Dudley family to be invited to speak at chapel on either side of the lake, I would have told you it was not a possibility. And yet, here I am. A dictionary defines possibility as a chance that something might exist, happen, or be true, the state or fact of being possible. Another definition is a thing that may be chosen or done out of several possible alternatives. I prefer the second definition because it puts an emphasis on choice. Sometimes you hear this as being open to the possibility of knowing that there is more than one way to evaluate something, someone, or even a path forward. Being open suggests a certain level of vulnerability. To step away from what we think we know, what we think we understand, to gain perspective of those choices appearing before us. Being open means we have to step across the boundaries of our comfort zone. One of my favorite books, The Phantom Tollbooth, explained this best. So many things are possible just as long as you don't know they're impossible. Let me say that again. So many things are possible just as long as you don't know they're impossible. Look at how powerful your own thoughts can be. You've no doubt heard about the glass conundrum. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Well, how about considering the possibility that it can be refilled? This is what I mean about opening your mind, being willing to explore, to consider beyond the obvious, to use new ways of thinking. Let me tell you another story. I bet many of you have experienced something like this. When I was 5 years old, I broke both of my arms at the same time falling off a swing set. 4 years later, I broke my right arm again, this time ice skating. They discovered the first break hadn't healed correctly. I spent a year in a brace, had exploratory surgery, broke my arm again. It was really fragile. And then eventually healed after getting a new kind of treatment, a cortisone shot. And then I broke the other arm badly in a fall. My arms are healed now and everything's fine. So why did I tell you this? I spent 2 or 3 years seeing an orthopedic surgeon regularly. I was fascinated. I asked the doctor hundreds of questions. Eager to learn, I followed the x-ray technician into the developing room to see my x-rays come to life. They weren't digital back then. When I was in 8th grade, for an assignment on career choices, I researched and wrote about becoming an orthopedic surgeon. I read books like The Making of a Female Surgeon. I started to plan how I would achieve it. I excelled in science, at least through middle school. I did pretty well in biology in high school. During my junior year, however, my world fell apart. This was the year I took chemistry. For the life of me, I just could not understand that subject matter. I just didn't get it. I was now facing several possibilities. First, I was facing the very real possibility that I was going to fail a class for the first time. Second, I was facing the perceived possibility that I was never going to be a surgeon. Notice how I identified possibilities only in terms of what could go wrong? I was already limiting myself, and I didn't even know it. So what happened? I actually didn't fail the class. I got a C minus. I was, however, spooked, and my confidence was shaken. I questioned how I could pursue a medical degree if I could barely pass high school chemistry. As I entered college, I again had choices. Do I continue with my dream, majoring in pre-med, and face the possibility of failure again? Or do I play it safe and change my major to something else, something seemingly easier, like political science? I truly thought it was impossible for me to survive college-level chemistry class. I did not investigate whether tutors were available, whether the professor would be better at teaching the concepts, or whether it mattered what grade I got so long as I passed. I had convinced myself that I could not learn chemistry before I really had even tried again. So I gave up on my dream of becoming a surgeon. I stayed firmly inside my comfort zone. My own restricted thinking limited my choices. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, a person often becomes what they believe themselves to be. If I keep saying to myself that I cannot do a certain thing, it is possible that I may end by really becoming incapable of doing it. On the contrary, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have that capacity at the beginning. If I had employed his way of thinking back in college, I would have believed in myself and that I could pass college chemistry. I would have looked for other ways to move me on that path to medical school. I would not have shut the door on that dream. As you wind down your summer and head into the school year, or off-season adventures for others, dare to believe in yourself and to test the limits of your comfort zone. I encourage you to consider the following possibilities. The possibility to test your own thinking by deliberately seeking alternative perspectives. The possibility to shed your bias to bring open-mindedness to your exploration. The possibility to discover new paths by venturing into that big open area outside of your comfort zone. The possibility to awaken to your own potential. At last, I'd like to leave you with my favorite quote. What would you attempt to do if you knew you would not fail?